Good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Welcome. I just want to let you know that this meeting is being televised and recorded for the transcription of the minutes. At this time, speakers wishing to address the board this evening should turn in the completed speaker card to the board secretary. I just want to let you know that you see that there's one spot missing here. Trustee Musa is in Hanyu City, Japan, as our delegate for the Sister Cities Committee. And so we're really proud of her going and representing our school district, and hopefully we can continue with some foreign exchange students in Millbrae. So she's missed tonight, but I'm sure she's having a great time in Japan. Okay. Would Olivia Smith, Kaden Nishikawa, Nico Nishikawa, Aiden Shafiq, and Giano Valencia come up for the flag salute?
They forgot me. I don't care. You start with Before we begin the pledge, please remove your hats and hoods as a sign of respect. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic in which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. We can do it, guys.
Okay, Trustee Chin, is there any report on action taken in closed session?
There was no action taken in closed session.
Okay, can I have an approval of the agenda for November 7th, 2024?
I'll make a motion.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, speakers wishing to address the board on items on the agenda may complete speakers' cards and submit them to the board secretary. Speakers addressing specific items on the agenda will have the opportunity to address the board at the time of the agenda item in the meeting. If you are addressing the board on a non-agenda item, please be aware that the provisions of the Brown Act prohibit the board from acting or discussing such matters this evening. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person per topic and 20 minutes per agenda item. So, do we have anyone from the Millbrae Education Fund who would like to speak this evening? Anyone from Millbrae Education Association? Classified School Employees Association, CSEA? Members of the community? Okay, the best part. Superintendent Hickey, would you like to introduce our guest?
Yes, I would. Good evening. First of all, it's a different night than we normally would be gathered here. We are meeting on a Thursday, and that is because when we looked at the calendar last year, we did not want it to conflict with Election Day. So that being said, I know it has been a kind of rough week for many of us, but what better way to brighten our spirits than with a school spotlight and having the Lomita Park Bears here tonight. And so I'd like to introduce Dr. Janeen Malatesta, the principal of Lomita Park.
All right, first of all, I want to thank the Board of Trustees, the district office staff, Lomita Park staff and faculty, Lomita Park students and families, Lomita Park PTA, the Millbrae Education Foundation for your support and partnership. So I'm very excited that we have our new school sign up. I'm sure everyone at Lomita Park noticed. We have the bear paw up now too as well. Our custodian Chris spent a really long time doing this, so we're really excited about it. And this is a great picture taken about the TK students, thank you, on the field, enjoying the new school sign. All right, so we have fabulous news that we have won the Silver Award for PBIS, Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. And so it's given to schools that have implemented, for example, we have our 4Bs there. Thank you very much to our parents. And we're also following them and discussing them. And now in order to receive the gold award or maybe even platinum, we'll be taking the data, like, so how can, where are any issues where students need support and how can we help them follow our 4Bs? And so here's some of the examples of our SEL, or social emotional learning. We have the 3rd grade morning circle with Ms. Gonzalez. Kate Fang is a school psychologist who's there 5 days a week. And thanks to the Rotary Club for their generous donation, we will have calming corners. So the items for those will be arriving next week. So enrichment. So this is so much fun to observe in the classes. We have kindergarten here with Mr. Greeno, music for minors. 4th grade music and our new portable, which the music teachers just light up when they're in there. It's great for them to have their own room with the kiddos. And La Garza, so they're having a good time out there, and also camp. All right, so I'd like to introduce our family engagement coordinator, Desiree Rivas.
Hello, guys. It's nice to be here. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've been doing with this new position here at Lomita Park. So the current focus has been really focused on attendance monitoring and tracking. We did develop a reward system for individualized students and their classes as well. I also helped to devise a monthly newsletter to incorporate all of the resources within the community and different staff that we would have accessible to us. In addition, we're working on community collaborations and additional resources to give to our families. We've also been working on creating different parent university workshops that are going to be beginning this month, actually, on the 14th. Current goals that we have in progress that we're aiming to continue to work on and accomplish is more attendance recognition. Excuse me, we're working on adding some more wall murals for individuals that are increasing on their attendance, as well as different class photos for the overall classrooms. In addition, we're also working on finding additional resources and tools for increasing literacy within the home. And then lastly, we're also working on creating additional community resources for families to use outside of school hours so that they can utilize more within their home as well. So this slide focuses on how attendance has impacted from last year to currently right now. Thankfully, we are on an upward trend and we're almost to have an equal at 97%. We're working on a couple of more classes, but primarily we're almost reaching that goal as well.
All right, thank you, Desiree. We're grateful to have her. She's been doing a lot of great work with attendance and working with the families. Okay, so CAASPP data, there has been an almost 7% increase in English language arts. As you could see, the standard met increased quite a bit. The standard nearly met, that is the area of focus for this year with the big lift, and also for standard not met, because we need to see more movement there. So you could see the difference between last year and the prior year. And there's Mrs. Azucena, one of our reading teachers, also in the audience. All right, so we're having a lot of great literacy supports now that we have the Big Lift grant, which included having Desiree Rivas' position as Family Engagement Coordinator. There's fast bridge screening 3 times a year. It informs the interventions and differentiated instruction. You can look at the lesson plans and see what each individual student needs, and also by class for reading skills. So the structure literacy block, which I know you've heard more about for the presentation on the big left, the decoding K through 3 phonics, phonemic awareness, so Heggerty, vocabulary, oral language, comprehension, and reading fluency. And so we've also been having presentations about the science of reading from the San Mateo County Office of Education. And so we were collaborating with them. And yeah, it's just really great to see so many resources coming in through the big left for the students. So about 30% of Lomita Park students, they are in the reading program with our reading specialist. And so you can see here that the data suggests that the students are moving from urgent, so that last area in red, to the intervene section, so and then on watch. So you could see this shifting over, this trend of shifting over. The second grade, we're moving towards the level in which the supports will help them transition from learning to read and reading to learn. So that's just so important to make sure that they're reading at grade level by the 3rd grade. And so that's where we're focusing. The reading specialists are focusing a lot of their time on working with the students in the 2nd grade. So math interventions. So we have a great math pilot, so for grades K through 5, and there's a lot of discussion about math, which is part of the new program. So students, it's really much more relevant, and they can take a look at the big picture and think about how math works in the real world. There's an IXL learning pilot for grades 2 through 5, so which allows for personalized learning. And also we have small groups for math facilitated by the specialists for grades 2 through 3, grades 4 through 5, Title I funded paraprofessional. So we have an extra paraprofessional now to work with our older students. So our MTSS coordinator has helped a lot with manipulative tools, resources for family, and after school tutoring began this week, and we have 45 students now in tutoring. So you can see our STAR math scores climbing. 3rd and 4th, you have the same pattern of upward movement. And 2nd and 5th, as I just mentioned, we become tutoring. So it's in English language arts, and it's also in mathematics. So Jen Hoskins has been doing a great job with scheduling all the tutors and identifying which of the students need the interventions the most. So they're really building their foundational skills for middle school math. So one metric for the language proficiency, in English is LPAC. So we've seen a 13.85% increase here. It's true that the groups are not exactly the same, however, they're not dissimilar. This is a good snapshot of our English language learners. And so we are observing an upward trend in proficiency. The EL tutors seem to be extremely beneficial. And this year we have more EL tutors on campus. So we have one full-time tutor, Mr. Hassan, who you see in the picture there, who's fabulous. And then we also have one, an additional ELD tutor on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So for reading interventions for multilingual learners, Julie DeMaio has been working quite a bit with all of these students and really supporting us at Lomita Park. We had a lot of SSTs, so I'm gonna have her come up and talk about it last year so that we could intervene, so that we made sure that they were getting all the support they needed.
Thank you. So as MTSS coordinator, I do work at all of the sites as often as I can, but because Lomita Park has over 50% of the kids in the program that I am facilitating, I do spend an awful lot of time working there to make sure that they do get the interventions. And the one thing that I wanted to notice, if you'll see in the 3rd column, the number of students that are started in the program in 1st grade and they're now in 2nd, et cetera, they have 45% 45 kids alone just in those grades, with 65 overall. Starting in Plan 3, which was 3 years ago now, I just wrote Plan 5. So we are spending a lot of focus on those. And you can see in the green column, the same kids from 1st to 2nd grade, we had a third of them exit from needing urgent intervention to being at grade level in 1 year alone. So they started in kinder, and in those 2 years, they've gone to at or above grade level, which is a tremendous result for the students. And we had great results in 2nd and 3rd as well. A little less from 4th to 5th. Sometimes we get those students a little later in their career, or they're taking a little longer to learn English, so we are focusing there. You can see in the blue column, those are kids that are starting to approach grade level, and so they're going to be on watch, but they can be largely in the receiving just differentiated education within the classroom with their teachers, with some support from the specialists, whether it be Mr. Hassan and the other ELD tutors or the reading specialists. But we can see in that red column, we still have, particularly our current 2nd graders and our current 5th graders, more kids in need of urgent intervention. And so Dr. Janeen mentioned how the focus is on 2nd grade with the reading specialist. And we're meeting tomorrow actually with Catherine Wasliff and the reading specialist and myself to make a plan to address those 5th graders before they go off to middle school. We really want to make sure that we're targeting their particular needs. And Dr. Janeen already described the great data that we're able to get from adding FastBridge. So we are testing those older students with FastBridge as well. So we now have 3 data points. We have the DRA, which was given by our reading specialist at Lomita Park, the STAR score, and the very specific data that we're able to get from FastBridge that can tell us exactly where to target, and we can put additional resources like myself in the classrooms working with those 5th graders to make sure that we can do as much as we can for them in the remainder of this year.
So we just have an amazing team, and so I'm really appreciative of them and working with our awesome students who have so much potential and are showing a lot of growth. And so just thank you to everyone. Thank you to the students for coming and our parents.
Thank you, Dr. Janeen. We'd like to have some questions, perhaps, from our trustees. Do I have anyone that would like to start?
Well, hold on. Do you want, the students are going to sing the Lomita Park Bear song, so I'm just wondering, should we do that before? I think we should, let's do that, and then we could do trustee comments.
Absolutely. Thank you.
5th grade is going to lead, okay? Everybody else repeat.
I do it. I do it. You said you don't want to do it. I do.
Will lead it, but you repeat.
Get your paper. I don't have one. We just repeat anyway. Here you go. Start yet? We are Lomita Park Bears. We are Lomita Park Bears. We are kind. We are kind. We are safe. We are safe. We are respectful. We are respectful. We are responsible. We are Lomita Park Bears. We are Lomita Park Bears.
Just hold on to it or leave it. I love how responsible they are, wanting to give me the handouts back again. All right, questions?
Thank you. So Trustee Chin, did you want to start with a comment or question?
Sure. Well, thank you guys for all showing up. I love seeing the Lomita Park community. The one thing that always stands out for me within Lomita Park is the Lomita Park pride. I love how you guys really sort of gel as a community, and I can tell you're all friends. I get that sense that you guys are all friends, and I really enjoyed your song. So thank you, kids. Thank you, parents. Thank you, Lomita Park community. I know there are lots of teachers, and I'm really pleased to see so much improvement. I know that there's always, some work to do, and there's always more. But it seems like there are so many folks that are on the team now that are providing those supports to our students, and hopefully we'll continue to see such great improvement. I do have some questions, but I'm going to kind of wait a little bit until everybody else kind of makes their comments, or how do you want to? Okay, so I'll leave it at that and then come back to questions.
Okay. Trustee Barbaro.
Sure. It's really great to have Lomita Park here. And I see so much growth in 1 year. From the last time your school was here, I see a lot of collaboration between teachers over the year, this past year, not just tonight, but watching and listening and observing. So a lot of collaboration between teachers and staff, a lot of reach out to the community, Rotary, Lions, all the different groups, Chinese business. You've done a great job reaching out. The scores are going up. The kids are doing great. They're here tonight. They were great kids. You're great. And it all goes down to leadership. Your leadership is superb. And that's why we're here today, why I could say there's collaboration, there's good communication, there's good scores going up because of the leadership. So kudos to you.
Thank you. Trustee Beltrami.
So congratulations on the Silver PBIS Award. That's great. It's wonderful to hear that you're moving in that direction so that students are getting the recognition for their positive behaviors. Also, welcome to Desiree Rivera's. I'm so excited to see some of the things that you're outlining as your goals. I know attendance is really important, and bringing up the attendance will only benefit the children because they're in the classrooms, and so that's great. I'm looking forward to hearing more about those types of things that are happening there with their recognition, and if those numbers can continue to be that consistent, it would be awesome. Congratulations, students. That was wonderful. It's always nice to see you, so thank you for coming out, and thank you, parents, for being here too.
Well, there's no doubt that Lomita Park holds a special place in my heart. So kudos to all of you for being here tonight. Parents, you are their first teachers. So parents who are here this evening, would you please stand up so we can honor you tonight? So everybody, a round of applause for our parents. I think it's obvious that our district has taken a special interest in our Lomita Park community, in our students, by affording so many extra programs at Lomita Park. I think it needs to be celebrated that Lomita Park has more ELD tutors, we have more reading specialists, we have more paras, and with all of these added programs and individuals, I'm really looking forward to seeing how, and a community liaison person, Desiree, I'm really looking forward to seeing how this is going to really reach every single student. We only have 275 students at Lomita Park School and 12 teachers. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing attendance and tardies. I have a few questions regarding tardy letters and how often those go out and how often we have parent visits and programs for parents to come, parent ed nights, reading together, bringing kids in. So I'll address those at another time, but congratulations to Lomita Park. You are a special community, so keep it up. Thank you. Superintendent Hickey?
Well, thank you, Dr. Janeen, and all of the students. I love coming to Lomita Park, and I especially like when I'm there in the morning because you see the whole community out on the blacktop together, and that's where you really feel the unity. So I don't know if we are, Trustee Chin, are you going to ask a few more questions? Are we going to take our break? Maybe you can just ask your questions and we'll kind of note them down, just some of the things, and then maybe we won't get back to the answers right away, but we can kind of note them down, and then we'll take our break for the important fun part that everyone is looking forward to, which is cookies.
Yeah, yeah, I definitely don't want to keep the kids, but yeah, I mean, the amount of improvement is really wonderful to see. I'd love to see the attendance numbers going up. That's incredible in just a few months. I was curious about chronic absenteeism because I know that was always something that was an issue in the past. So I'm curious as to how that's been addressed, or maybe we aren't in the school year long enough to have enough days for chronic absenteeism. I'm not sure how that all works. Not enough days? Oh, okay, okay. I was curious as to whether or not the Book Nook was still up and running or if it ever got set up. And also the STEM lab that was set up and what you all are still doing there, because I think those were some wonderful things that were put in place over the last year or so. And I'm really just super pleased to see all of the improvements. There is still an indication on the 5th grade that I'm curious about in terms of some of the improvements that are still needed there. And that's really most of it, but great job overall. Thank you so much for your leadership. You've been there a year and so much has changed, and I'm really happy to see all the supports that are being put in place, and hopefully we can continue all of them.
All right, so we'll take a short break, and students first, but then I'm looking at the audience and we'll have enough for parents too, and you'll definitely want to make sure you grab a cookie. So come on up, students.
Okay, we are going to resume after that tasty little break. Superintendent Hickey, you have a slight change in our agenda?
I'm going to suggest a slight change to our agenda order. So we always start with our school spotlight first, but then I think I might suggest that we move up trustee, and if you have any additional comments, trustee, and then superintendent's update, and then we'll follow back with the CAS presentation.
Great, so now we will go on to trustee comments. So I'm going to start with trustee Beltrami.
Okay. I just want to mention congratulations to our community for passing Measure J, and thank Joy passing on Henry. Really excited that Joy, we got to give a shout out to our campaign chair. She was awesome. Joy did all the work behind the scenes to make sure that we were knocking on doors and getting the information out to our community. And it's just such a wonderful thing to see that we have our own community supporting our schools and understanding how important it is to have good, strong schools for the children in our community so that they can really prosper. So that was a wonderful result on Tuesday. I also want to say that the Mills Interact are going to be hosting a Rise Against Hunger next Tuesday in the Mills cafeteria. The Interact and the Rotary will be putting together, the goal is 10,000 food packets to send to an identified area of need. The two clubs did this last year, and we packaged over 11,000 food packages, and they went to the Philippines who were suffering from, I think it was a hurricane or some kind of natural disaster, so they needed to have the food there. So it's really great to see our communities and our students at Mills and Taylor in the Interact getting together to put together these wonderful things to outreach to other people. And that's all I have for today.
Just one question on that, Claire. What night are you doing the packaging? Because I know Rotary's done it. I've helped out.
Oh,
before.
it's next Tuesday, the
Next
12th.
Tuesday. Okay.
And if you're interested, I can email you the registration.
Can you please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Trustee Barbaro.
Well, I mean, I can't talk about anything but Measure J right now. I'm so excited. You know, Millbrae has really revitalized my faith in Millbrae. You know, this is our third bond in 15 years, which shows me that the community really wants good schools, you know, for our kids. So kudos to Joy, our chair of the bond. You know, there's not too many times where a parent was really involved in the past with their kids here that now has kids in high school. It comes back to her school district and does what she did. I mean, it was just superb. So kudos to Joy. And I hope that we could bring her in to really give her notoriety, you know, and thank her in person with people around to see that what she did and let everybody know what a parent could do. It doesn't have kids in our school district. It comes back that's so invested in her community. So, you know, we'll move forward. We're going to fix our schools up. I know we have a lot of work ahead of us, but it's good work.
Thank you, Trustee Barbaro. Trustee Chin.
Well, I have to keep going on the Measure J bandwagon. Yeah, I'm absolutely excited and thrilled that our community stepped up to support Measure J. You know, our schools were such in need of repairs and modernization, so I'm just excited that we can provide the best learning environments and opportunities for our kids. And I want to thank Joy especially, but I also want to thank other people on the team, including Superintendent Hickey, CBO Ralph Crane, and Team Civex, and Joy Henry, but also Vivian Wang, who really spent a lot of time sort of being the volunteer coordinator there as well. And just the countless volunteers in our community that ended up really just proving that they care about our schools, which really are the pillar of this community and the main reason why a lot of people come to Millbrae and live here. So I'm just thrilled about that. And then I just wanted to kind of make some comments about election season. I know it was a particularly difficult and challenging season with all the rhetoric that was going on. And the results left a lot of us with a sense of like shock and sadness, anger and anxiety. Not for everybody, but I'm sure that there are a lot that felt that way. But I just wanted to kind of say that, you know, it's kind of easy for many of us to feel confused, and I think it's important for us to find ways to stay grounded. And I think what's not really changed are our principles and what we believe in, and the people that we value and that we can remain connected to. So I hope that we can all sort of recover in this season and sort of showing our kids that we're resilient and that there's hope, but that there's still work to do. And that, you know, our kids are really the part of the change that will make this country better and a better place for everybody. To leave on an optimistic note, I did attend a student panel for San Mateo Union High School District earlier this week. Superintendent Hickey was there. And there were students from across the district, from San Mateo Union, from all the different high schools. And it was sort of a listening panel. And one of the questions that they asked the students was, you know, do you feel safe being able to discuss, you know, differing points of views in the classroom? And I was just completely enthused by their answer because it was a surprising, resounding yes. And that they were able to speak about how they were given challenging, uncomfortable topics, sometimes on purpose to discuss, but that they felt that the environment was where they could really listen to each other and really respect each other's opinions without judgment. And I thought to myself, wow, that is fantastic, because I don't really see a lot of that going on amongst the adults in the room. And it just left me with this sense of positivity and optimism for our future and for this generation. And I'm hoping that we can actually learn a little bit from them in that sense, and just to keep that in mind. So those are my comments.
Very well said, Trustee Chin. And I agree wholeheartedly that we have to have those avenues open for our students at home as well as at school for trusted adults wherever we can find them. And in terms of Measure J, it takes a village, and our village came together. And so I celebrate each and every one of you that got your vote in and are invested in the safety of our students and the safety of our school sites, all the way around. And to our district office, we have a facilities plan. Thank you, CBO Crane, ready to go. So we're not going to waste any time putting those wonderful monies to good use. So thank you very much. Okay, Superintendent Hickey.
All right. So it is November, although I have to show a few things that happened at the end of October because Halloween is always fun. So we had some Halloween community building. You'll see the Taylor Halloween dance. So this is their first dance of the year, and Mr. Pineda, our leadership teacher, did a really great job organizing that. Still had parent helpers, middle schoolers still want parents around, but maybe at a little bit more of a distance. And then a lot of the elementaries did trunk or treats. I know Lomita Park had a harvest festival, but I had to put the Blockbuster video picture in because, you know, all of us really feel nostalgic when we see that, and the students wonder what that is, but it was very cute. All right. And then just some pictures of everyone dressed in costumes. So we have mostly staff members here, but just to show that we enjoy having fun and dressing up. So you'll see Meadows. There was, oh, sorry, go back a little bit. If you can't tell, they have Costco. They're Costco sample passers. And they were very popular because they were passing out some treats. Anyway, all right, so we'll go to the next slide. Taylor is getting ready for their sojourn trip. That is happening. They're leaving Saturday, and they're going to be gone through the 15th. We have approximately 70 students attending, and the staff members this year, Mr. Romer, Ms. Richardson, Ms. Harrell, Mr. Radinsky, and Ms. Thomas, who will be going. We'll be going to Mount Vernon, Gettysburg, and Washington, D.C., and the whole purpose of the trip is learning about U.S. history with a social justice lens. So that is a picture not from last year. And they actually went in the spring last year, but they will be going right now. So they're looking forward to that. And then Green Hills, the playground has been complete for a little while, but we finally finished the last part, which is the wrought iron fence that goes around there. So they had their ribbon ceremony. It's maybe a little hard to tell, but the big scissors that we borrowed from the city of Millbrae made all the difference in cutting the ribbon. So you see Mrs. Bradshaw helping with cutting the ribbon, and you can just kind of see a picture of students excitedly entering. That gate is actually kind of a little tucked in near Miss Bradshaw's room, so it's in a safer place and it doesn't face the street. And then, of course, Measure J. We are very excited. We are still kind of looking at semi-official results, but our consultants, Team Civex, say that there is no way that this doesn't officially pass. As I looked at the San Mateo County election website this afternoon, at this point, they're kind of updating it every afternoon. We have, in the San Mateo County, there are 221,877 ballots processed. So there are still some mail-in. All the vote-in center ballots have been processed. There are still some mail-ins that have not been counted, and so they'll be updating it every day. The last, what we checked was that we were at 61.01% as a yes, and for bonds, we need 55%. And so, yes, I just want to thank our community for coming together. Our students deserve to have facilities that match the promise and talents that they represent. And so I'm really excited about that. So yes, special thanks to Joy Pasmonte Henry, who is our chairperson, Vivian Wang, our treasurer, and all the countless volunteers who did canvassing and waved signs at the end and were at the events. It really paid off. And I know it seems like a long process, but December 5th is when those election results will kind of be official. And so probably the December meeting is going to be the time that we may want to think about inviting those who were really instrumental in Measure J, because that's also probably going to be the meeting where we will have to officially kind of declare the election results.
Wonderful. Thank you, Superintendent Hickey. We're going to move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Oh,
Whoops.
sorry, now we'll go to presentations.
Now we're
I'm
going to the
sorry.
presentations. Sorry, Miss Wascliffe. I didn't want to
I'll
forget
kick this
about
off
you.
and introduce it. So Ms. Wasliv, who is our Director of Educational Services, will be presenting tonight the CAASPP, which we love our acronyms here, but CAASPP stands for California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress Results. She is going to kind of give you an overview. There's so much data to dig through, and these results just came out, and so we certainly can come back and dig into more data, but the purpose of this presentation is to give you an overall picture. So thank you, Ms. Wasliv.
Good evening, President Ferrario, Board of Trustees, Superintendent, Cabinet. This evening, I'm presenting on the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, otherwise known as the CAASPP. I want to begin, as I have in the past, with a quote, because this really reflects my philosophy around standardized tests. They are a measure of student achievement, but they do not measure a student's heart or their work ethic or their kindness or their creativity or anything else that makes for successful adults. I just want us to keep that in mind as we present this evening. So the purpose of CAASPP, the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress, is a statewide standardized test that's administered to students in grades 8. And as you can see from this umbrella, we call it the umbrella because under that umbrella you have various assessments. You have the CAST, which is the science assessment. You have the ELA and the math. And for students that have been here for 12 months or less that are Spanish speaking, there's a Spanish assessment as well. And so really the CAASPP is essential in benchmarking state standards against student performance. So it really helps us in identifying strengths and areas for improvement and driving instruction. So tonight's overview is really going to give a as Superintendent Hickey mentioned, sort of a district-wide performance. We're going to get down to the granular level with grade levels. We're going to identify strengths. Sorry, this is a little short for me. Opportunities for growth. And I really want to present sort of where we're going in terms of areas for growth in our district. Okay, all right. So when we talk about the CAASPP, we really want, we say the CAASPP, the ELA, the math, the science, but what I really want to show you tonight is the claims, something that you might not be familiar with. And so this is what students are expected to know and be able to do. It's also a basis for analyzing strengths and weaknesses, and of course it's aligned to the Common Core state standards. So for language arts, we have reading, writing, listening, research, and inquiry. In the area of math, again, the claims are what students are expected to know and be able to do in math. They're aligned to Common Core state standards, and they do help us in analyzing strengths and weaknesses. In math, we have concepts and procedures, problem solving, modeling, and data analysis, as well as communicating reasoning. And you probably heard when Common Core was introduced that it's all about being able to explain your thinking, right? And so that's really the big push with Common Core, is teaching all those strategies, and you have to be able to explain how you got your answer. You can't just get the answer. So when we look at CAASPP scores, and I do want to point out that I created these colors here. I blended them on the computer just so that they would match these colors. So anyway, okay. It's kind of a side joke that Superintendent Hickey and I have about the charts and the colors, but anyway. Standard exceeded, of course, that's exactly what it means. Students who have gone above and beyond meeting that standard. Standard met, they're proficient, they have a good grasp, and then nearly met, that's they're coming a little short of the standard, but they can get there, and then the standard not met. And again, this is a scoring system that helps us identify the students and where they are. So let's take a look at Millbrae, and I'm very excited to announce that we are growing in the right direction. We have an overall increase of 2.77% of students that have met and or exceeded the standard in English language arts. So you can see last year it was 62.62, which is interesting. 65.39 this school year. So a growth of, overall growth of 2.77 percentage points. And now we move to our district-wide performance in math. Not as much growth, but nonetheless, movement in the right direction, a 1.50% growth. So last year was 61.05, and this year 62.55. Now let's take a look at how Millbrae stacks up against the county and the state. So at the very top here, you'll see MESD, and then you have the county and the state. So again, the top on the chart here, going across, you have 22-23, and then 23-24. In ELA, blue and red, and in math, yellow and green. So again, you can see, just looking at the bar chart and or the table chart, that we are exceeding the state and the county. And by quite a bit when we compare ourselves to the state. So that's all excellent news for Millbrae, showing overall growth year after year. And now let's get down to grade level performance. So what I did was I did a little math. You can take a look at the chart here while I pull up just some numbers that I have for you. Okay. And Trustee Chin, you'll check my math, I'm sure. I rely on that. Okay, so let's take a look at, in ELA, we have third grade, all the way across up to eighth grade. So in third grade, 56.94 are meeting and or exceeding. Fourth grade, 58.41. In fifth grade, 70.69. Sixth grade, 63.63. Seventh grade, 69.48. And eighth grade, 71.49. So you can see fifth and eighth grade are really leading in ELA. And now we move on to math. We have, and you can kind of tell by the chart, but I wanted to do the numbers. In third grade, 73.73. In fourth grade, 66.98. Fifth grade, 65.06. Sixth grade, 59.57. Seventh grade, 56.35. And eighth grade, 55.13. Okay. Let's take a look now at the school site performance overview. So we have listed at the top, MESD overall. You can see 22, 23, 23, 24. You have your column change from previous year, so that's your growth or your decrease. And in math, the same thing, 22, 23, 23, 24, and then the change. So just looking across, you can see what we already pointed out, which is the increase in MESD overall in both areas. And you're looking at Green Hills with a increase of 4.34 in ELA, and in math, 2.69. Lomita Park, which we saw and heard tonight, growth in the right direction, especially in language arts, almost 7%, as Dr. Malatesta pointed out. However, a little decline in math, not huge, but nonetheless a decline. Meadows with an overall increase in ELA of 4.79. We'll just round that up to 5 since I was their principal last year, just kidding. Moving on to math, I want to point out 7.09%, which is significant. Spring Valley with a decrease in ELA and a slight, minimal, not really statistically significant, decrease of 0.23 percentage points. Moving on over to Taylor, we have pluses in both areas, ELA and math, 4.05 in ELA and 1.36 in math. Now let's get down to the subgroups, and this is where we would all probably say is points out the area of the achievement gap, or some might refer to it as the opportunity gap. So we have our English learners, and I did a little bit of math on this as well because I predicted you might ask what was last year's, just because when you do these slides, it's a lot for one slide. So I didn't want to overwhelm the slides. So at any rate, we have English learners, and you have 23, 24. So this is current, right? So you have your language arts and your math for English learners, Hispanic and socioeconomically disadvantaged, ELA and math, and students with disabilities, ELA and math. So what I did was I looked at last year's just to kind of give you a little comparison. So last year, so this is a 2-year comparison. We have an increase in English learners of 2.31 and 4.88. So English learners went up in both areas, ELA and math, from 22-23 to 23-24. So this does not reflect that, but I did want to point that out. Hispanic and socioeconomically disadvantaged went up significantly in English language arts, 7.01 percentage points. However, we saw a decline in math of 5.47. And students with disabilities, an increase in English language arts, 3.16 percentage points, but a decline in math of 4.96. Sometimes it's important to see these numbers in comparison to the year prior, right? Okay, so what can we glean from all this data in terms of strengths? And looking across subgroups, schools, overall, literacy. Overall, students are showing strong performance in English language arts, with many meeting and/or exceeding standards. This reflects that Millbrae is doing a great job in providing that foundational literacy support in the classroom. And I would say that our Tier 2 literacy is the contributing factor is the work that the reading specialists are really doing. They're providing that targeted support that's customized to meet the diverse needs of our students. It's rooted in the science of reading through Wilson Foundations. And I can't thank them enough for identifying those gaps in our students' instruction, providing that foundation, the comprehension, and now we've added the Hegarty, which, you know, we had that previous presentation on the big lift, but I do want to mention that we're really aligning our literacy instruction with structured literacy. That's a 90-minute block that has all the components of good, solid science of reading aligned literacy instruction. So we've talked about strengths, and we know there's areas for growth, of course. I showed you the subgroup data. So we have some areas that we really need to work on: our multilingual learners, Hispanic socioeconomically disadvantaged, and our students with disabilities. What are the considerations for growth? Well, I would like to remind you that for our English language learners, they do face the dual challenge of acquiring a second language while also having to learn the content. For our students with disabilities, they need that individualized, specialized support to really help them access the curriculum. And socioeconomic factors can influence students' readiness and access. So those are those opportunities we need to provide them, right? Action plan, moving forward, what are we doing? Well, we're doing a lot, as you saw with Lomita Park. We have the big lift. Today I was at the county learning all about how to engage our families more. We're focusing on that strong literacy, getting our students to read. You know, it's not about learning to read, it's reading to learn by 3rd grade. We're using the data that we're getting from FastBridge to personalize, monitor, and adjust our instruction. We're partnering with the San Mateo County Office of Ed. In fact, tomorrow I have a meeting with Matt from the county. We have our PLTs that are focusing on essential standards unpacking, and of course, you know about our math pilot. We're adopting a high-quality research-based math curriculum for students in PK all the way up to 5th grade. So we have a lot that we're planning in terms of really addressing those gaps for our students. And I would just like to leave you with one last quote. Test scores and measures of achievement tell you where a student is. They do not tell you where a student can end up. So we in Millbrae have that growth mindset, and we're just gonna say our students maybe haven't gotten there quite yet. But that doesn't mean they can't get there. So thank you.
Great job. So I'm sure the trustees would like to make some comments or have questions. So can I start with you, Trustee Chin?
Well, thank you for the presentation. I thought it was super well presented and really pleased with the results that we have overall. Obviously, there's always room for growth. I did not check your math on that slide, but it does appear right. I do particularly love the ELA slide by the grade level performance and how in 5th and 8th grade at those sort of, you know, checkpoints, you really see that proficiency, you know, getting to the point where it needs to be or getting closer to the point where it needs to be. On the math section, I didn't like that slide as much, just because you sort of see this slide as they go through. So I'm glad to see that you've got some plans in place in terms of the curriculum that we're trying to address that. And I'm really excited to know that we're doing after-school tutoring as well. I think that's going to be a big, or hopefully be a big bonus. And I know we've got the homework centers also at the middle school level. So hopefully we can bring those up. But overall, I feel like, Millbrae has made this a focus area, and I'm really pleased to see the improvement across the board, with some areas and little pockets that we know we need to address. So thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Trustee Beltrami.
Thank you for the presentation. It was very well prepared. I appreciate the data. Also, I just wanted to ask one quick question. You mentioned something about the partnership with the county for the Center of Access and Engagement. Can you speak a little bit more about what that entails?
Sure. So as you know, we have the multiple tiers, right, in MTSS, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. And so we're really trying to partner with the Center for Access and Engagement so we can really tighten up or shore up or, provide a more robust Tier 1 and Tier 2 program for our students. Sometimes I think when we've tried a few strategies, we maybe might have the tendency to say, oh, well, I tried, but this didn't work. And so I'm gonna call for an SST meeting because I think maybe, we just need to do an SST and skip maybe other strategies that maybe we haven't considered or we haven't partnered enough with our specialists or just find those thought partners that can come to the table to really say, hey, have you maybe tried to look at it from this perspective? And sometimes maybe if it's academics and or it's behavior, we're not quite sure where to go or who to go to. And so we've brought in the county to kind of partner with us and to do some walkthroughs of our schools, classrooms, and walk through with the principals to kind of take a look at different areas, be it PBIS or academics, and just give us some ideas to strengthen our Tier 1 and Tier 2 programs. We're considering adopting a district-wide fidelity checklist that will help us to create that extra safety net before we jump to, say, an SST. We maybe haven't considered the wealth of different strategies that are out there in both areas, academic and behavior. So that's what that is a little bit about. The walkthroughs are planned for November this month.
Cool. Thank you. And I just want to comment on your last quote. Thank you for bringing back Carol DeWick. Not many people really think about growth mindset anymore. And I know it was, the pendulum was really there a couple of years back, but it seems to have been lost. So thank you for bringing her back into the whole idea of looking at test scores and knowing that it's just one measure in this time and that day. It doesn't really mean that that's that student's future. So appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I think that comes from my own personal belief from my schooling. I have an older brother who was, quite intelligent, and I was 1 year behind in school, and it was always a comparison, and I didn't do well on tests, myself. I get a lot of anxiety, and so that's just my lens. Is like, that may be that performance there, but look at this wealth of other stuff I can do, so, yeah.
Thank you. Trustee Barbaro.
Thank you. Did you like the one I made myself with the colors? That was your favorite, huh? Yeah.
Your favorite.
Yes, we are. Well, kudos to our community, our parents, our superintendent, our board. It's a team, yeah.
I do just want to point out, and not to damper because we are above the county and state average, but the county and state, because that will include all grades, because we are a K-8 district, that's just, we have our 3rd through 8th grade scores, and when we are looking at the county and state, I just want to note that that would also include the 11th graders in that group.
Yes, wonderful presentation, clear, understood everything. The blending of the colors was excellent.
Thank you, President Ferrio.
I just wanted to make something clear, maybe for our folks at home, in that we talk a lot about the science of reading. And the science of reading is not one curriculum. It's more about consistency in literacy instruction. So when you talk about what some of the schools are doing with Hagerty, when we talk about Fastbridge, when we talk about everything, it's how we do it consistently from grade level to grade level to grade level. And that makes a huge difference because we always talk about third grade. Third grade is that magic place that we want them all to be proficient. And unless we start it here and build, it's just not going to happen. So I'm glad we're partnering with the county, and I'm glad they're coming in and giving us, and your links in your newsletter, letters are just amazing for teachers. I mean, they don't have a lot of time to do this, and we have to shout out to our teachers. They're doing amazing work. But those are all really useful things. The other thing I just want to mention, we talk about reading specialists. They're amazing. Obviously, look at Lomita Park. I mean, it makes a huge difference. And there's two. Have we thought about math coaches? Because I know I brought this up several times. And I know we don't have the funding always for that, but maybe we should kind of rethink our foundation dollars, or maybe, I don't know. But I think we really need to look at our math scores, obviously, from the data that you showed us. So I just wanted to throw that out as maybe a possibility in the future.
Yeah, actually, you bring up a really good point. That is what was glaring for me was, yes, it's like that age-old issue of you focus on this and this goes up, and then if you don't, it's how do you focus on both simultaneously? But I do have a couple ideas, and the first one is, with the new state-adopted framework for math, I think it's really going to give us an opportunity. I have a lot of hope around that because it's all about equity. It's all about different access points for our students. And as Principal Malatesta mentioned earlier, the kids are talking about their math, right? So that goes back to the Common Core of explaining. Can you explain your thinking? So they're having to turn and talk, and they're not used to that. Talk about my math. I'm just supposed to, put it all down here on this paper and explain my thinking here. I have to explain it like verbally. So it's really going to help our English language learners. It's going to help our students with disabilities. It's going to help all of our students in terms of that equitable approach to math instruction. The other piece that, along with that are the manipulatives, that we're really going to be kind of focusing on helping our students go from the abstract to the concrete, right? And so I think with either IM and or Reveal, because we're going to start the pilot in the spring, a lot of push around hands-on math. The other piece that Fastbridge has, which we haven't really talked about, but it's there, is the assessments in math. They are very robust, just as they are with Fastbridge and English language arts. They get down to all those areas in math, rather than just giving you a Renaissance star score in math that's either green, yellow, red, or blue. It really breaks it down. So it's something for us to consider. And I think those two things will really help boost. But if we could find the funding, CBO Crane, it'd be great to have a math coach. It's all about coaching. That's the best professional learning out there is coaching, so.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
If I could just make a couple of comments, I think one of the things I was paying close attention to is the grade level spans in English language arts. If we were looking at our scores, we start a little lower when we compare the students who are proficient and above, and then we kind of, it's an upward trend in English language arts. I was digging a little bit in the districts that have actually been part of the Big Lift for a while. San Bruno Park is one of them. And it's just kind of interesting to see that their third grade scores, and they have been, been part of a Big Lift for a few years, start higher in terms of the amount of students who are proficient and above. Unfortunately, you see a little bit of a trailing off. I'm just excited for Millbrae because I think with this focus of the early literacy, I'm hoping that we'll see our third grade scores go up and then hopefully remain up since we are in that upward trend. And I also just want to kind of echo, because we have been doing work with the pilot for math, and in the spring, we'll bring to the board the committee's recommendation for the curriculum for next year. And anytime you do a new adoption, you're going to spend some time doing some professional development and implementing that. That said, we also just want to honor that, you know, our teachers are doing a wonderful job, and we want to just make sure we balance that, because when we put too much at them at one time, it is really hard to. So I think right now the focus with our first year being in the big lift, it's really focused on literacy supports, but we won't forget math.
We have a
Yeah.
lot going on in Millbrae.
And I
I'm
agree.
really busy.
Yeah, Superintendent Hickey, when you, and Ms. Wasslev, that when we talk about math, we're also talking about English language learners, because they're having to explain their work. And so it's not just about a numerical, get the answer. And so we need to keep that instruction. And I'm so proud of our district for putting the help where it needs to go. I can't even tell you how important that is, that we have to focus on those areas and really put all our efforts there. And so that, you know, that just says it all. So thank you so much. Won't keep you up
you.
there any longer. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, now we'll move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Second? All those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Great. Okay. All right, so now we're going to move on to our district business. Superintendent Hickey, approval of first and last day dates for the 2025-2026 school calendar.
Yes, thank you. And so what we are bringing to you today is just the first and last day of school. Typically, how our process works is that the board approves when the first day of school is, the last day of school, and then we have a calendar committee that involves both of our bargaining units, so MEA and CSEA, who will work together and look at when the PD days are, and we will bring back to you the full calendar. So based on this, we followed the same structure as we have the last 2 years, where Thursday, August 14th would be the first day. We do try to mimic the San Mateo Union High School district calendar. Only difference here is they do start on a Wednesday, and we traditionally start on a Thursday. So their first day is August 13th, but we have the same last day of school, which is Friday, May 29th.
Okay. All right, this is an action item, so it's recommended that we approve the start date as August 14th and the end date as May 29th. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
And is there any discussion on that? Any input from our trustees? Trustee Chin?
Yeah, I just realized that it is the same last day of school as San Mateo Union High School District. And I'm just kind of curious as to how we manage all the promotions that come with it, because that's always been the balancing act. I don't think we've ever had it actually coincide on the day. But I want to just make sure that before we finalize it, that we have a very clear plan as to when the promotion schedules will be and how they may or may not overlap with the high school district.
Yes, and so actually last year was the same last day.
Oh, was-
This year will also be the same last day, so this would be the third year. I do know that we always make sure, of course, within our district that our elementary and our middle school promotions, there aren't any conflicts. Currently, the Mills graduation is in the afternoon on that Friday. And so for Taylor's promotion, we did it in the morning, and so we made sure that it didn't conflict. And that is still currently the plan for this year and for next year.
Any other comments, trustees? Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, thank you. Addendum for ELOP, Superintendent Hickey?
Thank you. I'm actually going to pass this one off to CBO Crane to introduce.
Okay.
Thank you. President Ferrari and fellow trustees, this is an amendment to the contract we have with Happy Hall. The yearly contract we have with Happy Hall is for them to be the after-school ELOP provider for standard services after school for all of our elementary and middle schools for ELOP students. This contract is one that comes about because of students that need a little extra attention and need extra support in the form of additional supervision with another adult to be with them, kind of like a one-to-one with a student during the regular school day. So this could be for various reasons, just behavior or other specific needs, so that just because of the additional need for additional supervision, this contract is to compensate Happy Hall to hire additional support for these students that need the additional supervision. In the original contract that we had with Happy Hall, we withheld 10% of the allocated amount for ELOP for such purposes. So we could have these types of services when needed, and also so we could have after-school tutoring paid for out of this resource as well. So these are funds that we did set aside for such occasion, and this is a contract to put that in place. It is one where we would not pay the invoices if they do not hire extra staff. So if they have the ability to have the support within the staffing model that they have, we wouldn't have additional invoices for that. And we're also only paying for the staff when the student is present. So when we have this contract, you'll see that not only do they have to turn in the timesheet of the employee that they hire, but also the attendance, sign in, sign out for the student as well. And so with that, I will make the recommendation that the board approves this, but then we'll take any questions.
Okay, I'm going to entertain a motion first. Do I have a motion to approve?
I can make a motion.
Great. And we're going to open it up to some discussion. Are there any questions for CBO Crane?
How many paraprofessionals are we talking about?
So this, I'm sorry, thank you for asking that. I should have mentioned that this caps it at 3 for this school year. We do not anticipate that we need 3 right away. There's 1 that we know of for sure and a second one in the works. So right now we're thinking possibly 2, but it would cap it at 3. So we wouldn't, if it was more than 3, we'd have to come back to the board and get approval for a 4th for this school year.
Is that one-time funds or is that ongoing?
It's the one-time funds that are allocated through the ELOP grant that we get every year and based on the number of UPP students that we have. And we have an allocation and the contract amount for them is 90% of that allocation and the 10% of that allocation is withheld for these purposes.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, item 13, board governance. We have a review of our CSBA policy updates. This is just for discussion. There's no voting on this item, but I'm going to open the discussion up for any of these board policies. Any questions from our trustees on any of the board policy updates?
That was good.
Say it again.
I said, I'm just happy to see the COVID-19 board policy rescinded.
I have one question.
Yes.
The migrant education program, what is that?
Which one are you looking at?
The one from the bottom and the bottom one. Migrant education program. Migrant education program. they're listed twice.
Okay, so a couple of, the reason why they're listed twice, just to be clear, is that we, with every board policy, we also have an administrative regulation that goes along with it. So it is kind of the same policy. The board policy states the policy, and the administrative regulation goes a little bit more into the services. I know CBO, okay, maybe I'll have you keep reading if you want to give a little summary of that. I also just want to mention that a lot of these policies are not ones that Millbrae Elementary just creates on our own. So CSBA recommends language to us. We certainly review it based on department to see, you know, if there's anything specific Millbrae wants to do with it. There are sometimes policies that, there are some policies that clearly don't pertain to us because they're typically high school related, and with us being a K-8. So I don't know if you've had a chance, if you are able to say anything about the migrant education. Okay, yes, and there is a current, this is not a new policy, so there is a migrant education board policy. And so these are typically just, CSBA will give recommended updates. And then go ahead.
So this is basically for families that move from, you know, community to community based on specific jobs that they hold. And so those jobs take them from community to community. So they're considered migrant families because they're moving from city to city in order to garnish work. So this allows them support. So we have the ability to deem them as migrant families and then provide additional supports for them in form of, you know, waiving fees or providing supplies. So it's just a way to support families that are struggling or families that are not connected to a community because they haven't lived there and they are moving from place to place. So it's just one of those programs that affords us the ability to support them as they have transitioned from one school to another, because we know that's not easy when your parents are changing jobs and you have to transition, and then you might not have the resources that other families have.
Okay, perfect.
Example, farm workers.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Any other questions? We're good, okay. So this is for discussion, so you're going to bring this
We will
back.
bring it back for, on the consent agenda at the next meeting.
Perfect. Okay, moving on to possible future agenda items. I know we have one, we're having an EL presentation coming up.
We do have an EL presentation planned for our next meeting on
November 19th.
Correct.
Anything else that you'd like to bring up, trustees? Yes, and the master plan comes up.
Correct. The facilities master plan will be on district business also on the November 19th meeting.
That's November 19th. Okay, and with that, we're going to adjourn our meeting this evening at, what is it, 8:25 or 8:35? I'm reading it backwards from the window there. 8:35, wow. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Good night.